Shalom. Giving all praise to my Heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh by Shem Yahushua by Shem Kadash. Double honor to the apostles near us that were well of New York and Connecticut. And peace and many salutations to Yakim that's toiling in his truth. Now, I listened to the popular report. This gentleman that does various topics on the supply chain. And he briefly made a statement about how Ukraine was actually behind the North Stream blast that happened 2 years ago. Now that was a pipeline that connected Russia to Germany, and it was a pipeline that supplied Russian oil to Germany. And I felt this to be big news because this could possibly lead to what we see in Revelation, the 17th chapter, the beast hating the whore. Now, in the midst of this this news here, you had Germany actually looking for the Ukrainian diver that was responsible for the explosion. And also Germany is severely cutting its military aid to Ukraine. And of course, they're being diplomatic about it. But it's definitely intriguing, everything that's transpiring, because we know that it's prophecy. We know that eventually, the beast, which is contemporarily speaking, NATO, EU, will be at odds, or some members will be at odds with America, and this could very well be the catalyst to prophecy. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now, the first video I'll be playing is from First Post, and it states a report: Ukraine sabotages the Nord Stream pipelines. Will the West act vantage with Palki Stroma? Now, I want to say this is I know this is an Indian or Elamite woman speaking, but you know that India is allies, at least economically speaking, with Russia via BRICS. Okay, so this news outlet, is going to be more blatant of what's going on and more straightforward, versus other news outlets that's from the West and things of that nature. So let me play this for you guys and pay very close attention to what she says, okay?
Our next story is also about Ukraine and Russia. It involves an investigation into sabotage and terrorism. It's about the 2022 Nord Stream blasts. Some of you may remember what happened. You may remember these images from September 2022. These are giant gas leaks in the Baltic Sea. It was the largest release of natural gas ever recorded. The gas was leaking from two pipelines, the Nord Stream 1 and 2. These two pipelines connected Russia to Germany. Western Europe received natural gas from Russia via these pipelines. But in September 2022, the pipelines were blown up.
So as she just said that Western Europe and, in particular, Russia was supplied with, Russian oil. And this is one of the biggest oil leaks recorded, okay, this explosion here. So that explosion that happened 2 years ago wasn't something that was just small and minute, and this was done by you know a supposedly NATO ally, alluding to Ukraine, man. You know, and this is big news because what's going on in Russia now is you have Ukraine advancing into Russia and taking over certain cities and strongholds with the help of NATO. So, with the disruption of military aid and allies, this could possibly change the course of the war, man. Okay.
And we still don't know who was behind it. Who did it? Was it Russia? Was it Ukraine? The US? Aliens? 1,000 theories were doing the rounds, but we never really discovered the truth. But now, almost 2 years since the explosions, we have another lead. A new report has come out laying out a new theory. This one points fingers squarely at Ukraine. I'll give you a quick overview. The plot was apparently hatched in May 2022. The war was on in full swing. Kiev had Western support, but it came with some disclaimers. Europe would need.
This is interesting because what she's reading from is from the Wall Street Journal. Okay.
Ukraine would help Ukraine, but it would continue buying Russian gas. Germany in particular. It was dependent.
I was so tired of putting.
Sorry about that.
On the cheap Russian fuel. And Germany received it directly via the Nord Stream pipelines. So some Ukrainians decided to make Germany and the rest of Europe kick the habit, quit it, cold turkey. How? By blowing up the source of their cheap fuel, the Nord Stream pipelines. They decided to blow them up. The new report says Ukraine blew up the pipelines and that everyone in Kiev was on board, including the country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky. In fact, he's the one who gave the go-ahead. So a plan was set in motion. A 6-member crew was chosen to carry out this attack. It had both military personnel and civilians, expert divers, who would lay explosives near the pipelines. This sabotage crew pretended to be a group of friends. They rented a private yacht and set sail from the German port of Rostock. The yacht made its way across the Baltic. In the dead of night, amid freezing temperatures, the crew members dived into the depths of the Baltic. They placed an explosive on the pipelines, an explosive called HMX. These bombs were attached to time detonators. They were placed on both the Nord Stream pipelines, and then the crew continued their yacht trip. They left. Eventually, on September 26th, the bombs went off at 2 different locations. Both Nord Stream pipelines were damaged, and Russia's grip on Europe was loosened. This is what the new report says about the operation. But more interesting than the method is the politics. Apparently, Zelensky later tried to call off the attack. The report says that America.
Which is, I think it's BS, but I listened to several news outlets, and they said the same thing. Zelensky, which is the president of Ukraine, tried to call off the mission, but it was too late. It says that the CIA didn't want them to carry out the mission, but they end up doing it anyway because of miscommunication, which I think is BS. I think that the U.S. eventually knew that it was going to come out, and so they're trying to save face. Okay, but now what we see going on, we see Germany actually looking for this particular diver, okay, that was responsible for the Nord Stream explosions. Okay, now this is another news outlet. This is DW News. Okay.
German media are reporting that prosecutors here have issued an arrest warrant for a suspect behind the 2022 explosions on the Nord Stream gas pipeline. It is believed that the Ukrainian man was one of the divers who allegedly planted explosive devices. 2 underwater explosions were registered on the Nord Stream pipelines off the Danish island of Bornholm in September 2022, months after the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The pipelines were supposed to bring Russian gas into Europe, but were not in operation at the time of the blasts. DW correspondent Matthew Moore is standing by for us. Matthew, what more can you tell us about this arrest warrant?
Terry, this is a very significant development on a story that has drawn a lot of attention in the last 2 years. And the case had really run cold. And now, today, we've learned, according to German media, that in June, an arrest warrant was issued by Germany. A European arrest warrant was issued for an individual, a Ukrainian individual, with a link, with an address in Poland. As we heard, his name is Volodymyr said. We only know the first initial of his second name, according to German law. And this man is supposed to have worked with 2 other individuals, a woman and a man, all Ukrainian nationals, to have prepared the Nord Stream bombing in September in 2022. And until now, the German prosecutor has declined to comment on these reports this morning. So it's worth just pointing that out. But it's really a significant development because there hasn't been any news since early last year when German authorities searched a yacht on a seaside resort in northern Germany, which people believe.
That's why I believe a lot of these yachts have been attacked. As a lady, we've heard at the one attack on the yacht recently. A lot of these yachts and trips, that people are taking, are being utilized to carry out terrorist attacks. Okay, so let's go to this one here. This is again DW News, and it says, "Is Germany going to cut off military aid to Ukraine?" Now, this comes out after the situation unfolded about the Nord Stream pipeline of how Ukraine is involved. Germany is cutting 50% of its military aid to Ukraine. Okay, all right. Now you're going to hear a German parliament member speak about the situation. He's being very diplomatic about it. He's not telling you the people the reason why, the parliament decided to cut 50% of its military aid to Ukraine. But come on, we can use extrapolation like the Apostle Gabar like to say to come up with a conclusion why Germany's not feeling Ukraine right now, man. And I know that ultimately America, in NATO had something to do with it. All right. So here we go.
Is Germany still committed to Ukraine? A government spokesman has denied that Berlin is turning its back on Kyiv, despite budget plans that call for reducing aid to Ukraine by 50% next year. Now, the spokesman, Wolfgang Buschner, said reports that Germany was reducing its support for Ukraine were, quote, simply inaccurate. He added that despite plans to cut spending to Ukraine, Chancellor Olaf Scholz is fully committed to backing Kyiv for as long as necessary. All right, I want to bring in now the German lawmaker, Boris Mijatovic. He's a member of parliament for the Greens, and he also sits on the Defense Committee. It's good to have you with us. Let me ask you, we've got a denial from the German government that Berlin will reduce its support for Kyiv, but we have a report that says the budget next year sees a reduction by 50%.
So they're saying, no, when we support you guys, we're just not going to give you as much money as we used to. Okay. And you could look at this for yourself. I just really want the first of this part, because this guy here doesn't really give, Boris doesn't give much. He doesn't give much insight of, why Germany decided to make the decision that it made. Okay, so let's get to some scriptures. All right, let's go to Revelation, the 17th chapter. Okay, because this is unfolding right before our eyes, and as you see, this is the doom of Babylon, which you know to be, aka America, Babylon the Great. All right, let's start from the first, and we'll read down. We'll read down to let's see here. The one that I really, really want. Once it's like we'll get to it. We'll just read. Okay, it says Revelation 17:1, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither. I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Okay, and that great whore is America. The waters just represents, of course, people. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And the world has been, heavily influenced by, the Western way, which is spearheaded by who? It's spearheaded by Babylon the Great, aka America. Right? These other nations have taken on the ways, the philosophy, of Babylon the Great, and quite frankly, they're fed up. Okay, they're fed up, and this is going, and they're them being disenfranchised, for lack of a better term, with America is going to lead to members in NATO, EU, aka the beast, to resent Babylon the Great, or to hate the whore that we're going to read about in Revelation the 17th chapter. Okay, Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that had made the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. These various nations are starting to figure out that America is one for itself. It's not for the betterment of other nations, but what it could get out of these other nations. Okay, and also taking on these various ways have corrupted these various people throughout these nations. Have caused more decay throughout the nations. I was actually listening to this guy. What is this guy's name, man? I'm looking at him right now. MMA fighter. It's a brother. I'm gonna have to look it up because now it's gonna bother me. But he was going into how in Japan they're paying people to come over there to procreate, because basically feminism has crept in, and also capitalism has crept in, which has caused the population to decrease substantially, because people aren't getting together anymore. People aren't procreating, man. You see what I'm saying? Rampage Jackson, we're speaking to was on Joe Rogan about this matter. This matter. That's just a small example. Okay, the nations, are tired of this place dictating what's right and what's wrong, you know, dictating to them that Moism is okay, dictating to them that they had to use their, you know, reserve currency. And so nations, I should say, are making various pacts and contracts to get away from the hegemony of the U.S., okay? All right, so back to it. It says, Revelation 17:12, with whom the kings of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman set upon a scarlet colored beast, all right, which is a derivative of red, right, which we know is related to as sin. Okay, that scarlet color, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. You know, which again is NATO in EU, which in ancient times was vassal states of Rome. Okay, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, which that purple represents, you know, basically royalty. And that woman that's sitting on that, on basically NATO and EU is who is America, okay? That great horde that everybody has, all these various nations have gotten into the bed with and committed fornication with, okay? And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And these various decked with golds, precious stones, pearls, that represents basically the strength of the American economy, man. You know, with the American economy having, you know, the reserve currency, you know, it was able to get very, very rich. You know, one, because with that reserve currency, it's able to dictate contracts, you know, it's able to dictate, you know, who's producing, you know, certain things, you know, with outsourcing things of that nature. So America was able to get cheap labor, you know, this dollar was, you know, in rotation, making a dollar very substantially strong. Okay. And this place has lived deliciously off of the its political pacts. And also it's tyranny, man. Right? Which these other nations, you know, have been complicit because they're getting money with this place too. Okay. It says upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. When I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. That's right. So this is the place in which we were slaughtered. Okay. It says in Revelations, the 11th chapter, that our bodies will lie down in the place, loosely paraphrasing, which is spiritually Egypt and Sodom. You know, this is the place where, you know, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans endured, you know, harsh judgment from the Heavenly Father, you know, getting murdered, you know, indiscriminately, you know, especially the northern tribe, okay? It says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore doest thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carried her, which had the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest and is not shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And that beast that thou sawest and is not, that's America, which came out of the bottom pit, which you know to be is Europe. Okay, said that little horn that's spoken about in Daniel the 7th chapter. Okay, in Daniel the 7th chapter, around what 8th verse. It says, I considered the horn, and behold, there came up there another little horn, before whom there were three, which those three horns was what? The French, the British, with the French, the Spaniards, and then the British, and then came what? America. Okay. So this is a correlation with what we see here in Revelation, the 8th chapter. Okay. All right. And I'm briefly going over this because I want to get to a particular point, but for edification, you can look up the breakdown Revelation. The elder Yeshua just did one, and there's another one that the elder, the apostle Arama did, years ago. Okay, it says, "In the beast that thou sawest, and it's not, which we know to be America, and it shall sin out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose name were not written in the book of life for the foundation of the world, that they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is." Okay, and we know that that's talking about those that worship the image of the beast are going to be destroyed. And here is the mind which had the wisdom, the 7 heads or 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he come, he must continue a short space, which is the British. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, which is America, and is the 7th, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 kings that thou sawest, 10 horns like it, which thou sawest, are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings in 1 hour with the beast. This have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Again, going to NATO and EU. They shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and kings of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And so when the Lord comes back, we know that World War III is going to be going on, but they're going to start fighting and begin to fight, the Heavenly Father. Well, excuse me, Yahushua, when he returns. Okay. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, which the whore sitteth, are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns that thou sawest upon the beast, these, this is the point that I want. These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So we're coming into the point to where, the beasts will begin to hate the whore. And this could be a catalyst to this, the Nord Stream explosion, and them finding out that Ukraine was behind, and ultimately we know America is behind it. America pushed the button because it's that great whore that sits on the beast. Okay. All right. And we know that Germany is a part of that beast. Okay. So just wanted to report, I pray this was edifying. Giving our praise to my Heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh by Shemel Shai, by Shem Kakadash. The one to the apostles and others who were well. Peace and mean salutation, like I'm talking to. Shalom.